Carrie, you're not a better sergeant at arms, just so you know. BJ's short to the point. You kind of wandered the long and winding road. Anyway, yeah, it is interesting. Yeah. Terry Tush is with us today. Give you a little background on him. He's covered OSU sports for years. It's for the Tulsa Tribune, the Edmond Sun, the Guthrie News Leader, O State Sports Report, Go Pokes, GoPokes.com. Then he switched to marketing and communications with the Spear School, which was where he was for 13 years. And he recently, in January, began his new role as the executive director of the Boone Pickens Legacy Experience. So, welcome, Terry. Thank you.
Your mic.
Am I on? All right, great. Well, thank you all for having me here today. Let me make sure I get this hooked in there. There we go. Thank you for having me today. Is it on? Okay, sorry. Uh, Chris, thank you for the introduction. Uh, it was? Okay, so. uh, So let me start by just kind of giving you a little background on the Boone Pickens Legacy Experience and what it is and so forth. Uh, if you hear me refer to it as the museum, that's really how I refer to it, and that's what it is. So you probably won't hear me say Legacy Experience very many times the rest of the day. Anyway, it was completed about a year ago, and it's in the west end zone of the football stadium where the university store used to be. They moved the university store over to the north side. Completed about a year ago, and then in September of last year, they had a big VIP event. All the important people across campus came in to see it and everything. And then it sat there. And for 3 or 4 months, no one was allowed in. It sat there, and if you ever come see it, you will see it's a beautiful facility. I know I'm a little biased, but it is a really impressive facility. And it sat there, and then when I was hired, I went through the interview process in December of last year, and they hired me to start in January. But during that interview process, I asked questions of them and asked them, well, first off, tell me the hours of the museum. And they said, Terry, that's a great question. That's why we're getting ready to hire someone to be the executive director to make these decisions. So I realized real quickly that we had this beautiful facility that told the story of Boone and his life and his legacy. And they said, here it is, Terry, go make it happen. And that's what I've been doing for the past 8 months, is making this happen. I've got some great help with some students that help me, but I am the only full-time employee of the museum at this point. In April, we kind of had our grand opening event. Since then, really, I've been given private tours since the 1st of March. And since the 1st of March, if things go according to plan tomorrow, with the number of people we have reserved coming in to visit, we will pass over 2,000 visitors since the 1st of March. To give you a little background, the Museum of Arts in downtown Stillwater has had about 8,000 visitors every year. So we're 2,000 visitors after about 4 or 5 months. So I'm pleased with that. But I do tell everyone that comes through, and the people that really enjoy it, I tell them the best advertising, the best thing you can do for me is tell someone else about it and tell them how much you enjoyed it. So if you ever get a chance to come in, and I hope you will, because I'm inviting every one of you right now to come, it's free of charge. It's open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. till 4 p.m. But we also do private tours, and we do those at night. We do them before 11 a.m. So if you have a group that you're interested in, think would benefit from coming and seeing it, I think my business card is on the table. Pick that up and just get in touch with me. So that's a little bit about how we got to where we are today. This is the photo of the welcome hall. Like I said, it's in the west end zone where the university store used to be. Uh, if you know where the Boone Pickens statue is, it's right behind the Boone Pickens statue. We have 5 parking spots right out front, uh, reserved with signage for visitors to the Boone Pickens Legacy Experience. So uh, feel free to use those if you ever stop by. And I don't want people to think we do reservations sometimes, but you don't have to have reservations to come in. We're open 11 a.m. till 4 p.m. Like I said, Tuesday through Saturdays. So, right behind the welcome door there is the entrance. This is a 9-foot tall portrait of Boone. Uh, this photo was taken of Boone in 2017. And I think I'm going to get this right, for a Forbes magazine story on the 100 greatest business minds in America. Boone was 88 years old when this photo was taken. So uh, the museum is 10,000 square feet. It's on the first floor here, and then you see the stairs there leading up to the second floor. The other thing, when I interviewed for the position, and they eventually offered it to me, I said, well, before I accept, I would at least like to see the museum and walk through it and see what's in there. And they said, oh, sure, sure. So, I went in and I thought, well, how much can be in a Boone Pickens museum? I thought maybe a room or two or something. There's more than a room or two. There's 10,000 square feet of exhibits. When everything was delivered out to the library annex several years ago, before they started building it and everything, the people out at the annex said it was delivered in 2 semi trucks that were full. Boone, I don't know this for a fact, but I think Boone knew that there would be a time in his life that there would be some type of a museum to him, and he kept almost everything that he had. He had his first job was with Phillips Petroleum out of OSU, and when he graduated in 1951, and we have his very first pay stubs from his job at Phillips Petroleum in 1952. Right beside that, in one of the displays, is a letter that he got his $20 a month pay increase with Phillips Petroleum. So there's a lot in the museum. On the first floor, we have a theater room, and we ask people to watch a 9-minute long video of him telling about his life and why it's important for Oklahoma State to tell people about his life and his legacy. Right beside that is a Staying Active exhibit. You'll see photos here in a minute. Up on the second floor, we have an early life exhibit. The exhibit that tells about his professional life. It's a timeline. It runs the whole length of a hallway from the different jobs he had and the different things he did in his life. There's a politically engaged section also. Talks about his friendship with Ronald and Nancy Reagan and the Bush presidents. There's also of course, about philanthropy and what he gave back to not only Oklahoma State, but many other organizations. So this is a photo of the theater room. This is a group of 4th graders that came through in April. And one thing I have found out in the past 8 months is that there are a lot of people, probably like a lot of you in this room, who know the Boone Pickens story and know how important he was to OSU and the impact he's had on OSU. But the other thing I've found out is he passed away in 2019. That means he's been gone for 6 years. That means every student on the OSU campus right now, none of them were around before Boone passed away. Most of them, when Boone was making his big impact on OSU, were probably in grade school. So the students at OSU really don't know. As a matter of fact, I ask these students and I ask the college students when they come in, I say, what do you know about Boone? The first thing they say is, well, his name's on the top of the football stadium. The second thing they say is, Well, I think maybe he was in the oil and gas business. After that, there's nothing from those students. So it's that was kind of shocking to me. But like I said, it's been 6 years since he passed away. Uh, Around the theater room are photos and illustrations of Boone. The one right there behind John Houck uh, is a photo that appeared on the cover of Time magazine in March of 1985. And you'll see that. You may see it here in this display, or if you don't, you'll see it when we come and visit. So, also on the first floor is a Staying Active exhibit. Boone was a big basketball fan, football fan, golf fan, really interested in fitness. He was really one of the first people to build a corporate fitness center for his employees. And he stayed active right up until the last few years of his life. This is a basketball exhibit where you can jump, see how high you can jump. You hit the ball, a light, you can't see the lights there, the light lights up, and then it cheers for the kids. There's a cheer. And you don't tell the kids that until one of them does it, and it really shocks them and surprises them. You'll notice in this photo that these are all young ladies. And it really shocked me that day because I knew the boys would really enjoy this, but it really shocked me. The girls, I could not get the girls out of this room. They really loved it. Another quick story is this summer, I hosted a short little private tour for the 1970 pledge class for Pi Phi sorority. There were 12 ladies that came in, and if I figure correctly, 1970 means they would be 72, 73 years old or so. So they were lined up here and they were looking at this, and I said, well, let me show you how this works. I reached up and touched one of the balls, it lit up, crowd cheered. I turned back around. 3 of the ladies were bending over, taking their shoes off, and they ran over and jumped to see how high they could touch it. So I was a little concerned. I was like, oh, no. But yeah, exactly. So also in that room, Boone, as you all know, was a big supporter of the cowboy and cowgirl golf teams and Karsten Creeks. We have a little putting green there that people can putt on. The 2 white boxes right there are the speakers, the same thing. Once the ball goes in the hole, there's a polite little golf clap for whoever makes it. So that's really all that's on the first floor. So going up the awards and honors stairway to the second floor are a bunch of awards that Boone was given over the years. Texas Citizen of the Year, Oklahoma Hall of Fame, and so forth and so on are some of those there. At the top of the stairways is early life. There on the very left where you can see 2 texts, and then college days. Boone grew up in Holdenville, spent his first 16 years of his life in Holdenville, and then his parents got transferred. His dad got transferred to Amarillo. He was in the oil and gas business. Moved to Amarillo, but I didn't realize this till I just read it recently. You know, we hear all the time about high school athletics here in Oklahoma and all the transfer rules, and we've had something involved just recently with some of the kids around Stillwater. Boone was ruled ineligible to play his senior year of basketball for Amarillo High School. So he took a redshirt year and didn't play his first senior year of high school and waited till his second year of high school, senior year, and played basketball at Amarillo High School. He was a really good player and earned a scholarship to Texas A&M to play basketball. He played basketball at Texas A&M for 1 year, and then he got called in, and the coaches told him, sorry, Boone, we're taking your $25 a month scholarship from you, and you're on your own. At that point, he sat down with his dad. That's when he transferred to Oklahoma A&M, now known as Oklahoma State. The 12th Man magazine, many years later, wrote a story and said that pulling the scholarship from Boone was one of the top 10 mistakes in Aggie history. So the white built house there is his Holdenville home. It's a replica of his Holdenville home, the front porch and so forth. So inside are some recording. There's a map of Holdenville, shows what Holdenville was like and where he lived when he was growing up. Some recordings of him talking about his mom and his dad, his grandma and his Aunt Ethel. The reason Grandma and Aunt Ethel are included is they lived right next door to Boone and his family. Boone was an only child, so he had many eyes on him as he was growing up, but they kind of helped him develop those core values, all four of them, and he speaks highly of all of them. So that's really an interesting section there. So 1955 Ford station wagon. When you watch the film that we showed people to start off with, he talks about his first job at Phillips Petroleum, worked there for about 2 or 3 years, and then he became Boone. He wanted to do things his way. He had that entrepreneurial spirit. So he quit his job at Phillips Petroleum. Matter of fact, he walked home from work the day he quit and walked in, and he was married and had a couple of kids at the time. Walked in, and his wife said, "What are you doing home?" And he said, "Well, I did what you told me to do." And she's like, "What did I tell you to do?" And he said, "Well, I was complaining last week about work, and you said, well, just quit your job then if you don't like it." She goes, and he said, "So I quit my job." So he went out on his own, and he went out. He was living in Amarillo at the time, and went out to the oil fields and started finding partners to drill rigs on. And so he had to buy a car, and he lived out of his car for that period of time until he got it on his feet. This is not the car, but it is a replica of the car. 1955 Ford station wagon that has been redone. It is immaculate shape, and you'll enjoy looking at it if you come through. So also on that hallway is the career wall, as I talked about earlier. Talks about the different stages of his life, going from the early days there to his Mesa Petroleum days. There in the red is the what's it called? The days when he was a corporate raider, and we all heard about those in the 1980s and 1990s. And then on down is his BP Capital days, and the days when he was talking about the Pickens plan and energy. Here's part of the career wall. This is the BP Capital section. I'll share this story with you. So he started BP Capital in 1996 when he was 68 years old. And in order to become a hedge fund manager, the way it was explained to me, is you had to pass a commodities exam, or it's known by some other word also, names also, but really you had to pass this exam. And it's very difficult from what I understand. Matter of fact, the people who've worked with Boone that still oversee his foundation, I'm in touch with them on a regular basis. They told me just a few weeks ago that they actually had to hire a tutor to help Boone pass the test. But it took Boone 3 times to pass the test to become a hedge fund manager. What I share with students, like this little boy in this picture, and even others, that was when Boone really had the impact with OSU, and the money that he was making was from that hedge fund. Where would OSU be today if Boone would have said, "I give up. I don't," after the first or second try, he'd said, I'm 68 years old. I don't need to do this. We wouldn't be where we are today at OSU if he had decided to do that. So, political engagement, I mentioned just briefly. He was good friends with Ronald and Nancy Reagan, also with the Bush families. You all heard the story. In 1990, it was President George H.W. Bush that came, spoke at commencement. That's when he talked about Eskimo Joes and the cheese fries and everything. In 2006, The other, George Bush, came and spoke at commencement. We have photos of President Bush and Boone on Air Force One from that morning, flying from Washington, D.C. to Vance. Is it not Vance? Is it Vance in Enid? Yeah, Vance. And they landed in Vance Air Force Base, and then they got on a helicopter and came to Stillwater. So, alternative energy, like I said, the Pickens plan. Boone spent $100 million of his own money pushing the Pickens plan back in the early 2000s. Giving back, what can we say about what Boone did to give back? During his lifetime, he gave nearly $2 billion to different people and different organizations. About half of that came to OSU. This section here, it takes two walls that list all of the organizations that he gave to. These young boys right here are looking at a little display, and you can see back behind over here with the guitar. Those are gifts that were given to Boone from different organizations after he supported them. The guitar there is signed by Trace Adkins. There's a guitar that these two young boys are looking at on the right, on my right-hand side, that was signed by George Strait, that was given to Boone. So there's more of the giving back, shows both sides of it. So this is the office that's right off the area there, right? The philanthropy piece. This was actually Boone's office in the last 10 or 15 years of his life. This is the actual furniture that was in his office. It was packed up, shipped up here to Stillwater, and then laid out to the exact dimensions of his office in Dallas, BP Capital. Mm-hmm. This is the Mesa Vista room. The ranch that he owned in West Texas was the Mesa Vista Ranch. And this is a room that kind of gives you the feel of what it was like to be in the ranch out there. You'll notice there are 5 frames on the walls that display artwork that Boone owned at one point in his life. Every 90 seconds, it rotates to a different piece of art. And I've been told, and I haven't tried it yet, that you can stand in front of any of those 5 for an hour and 15 minutes before you see a duplicate piece of art come back up. So all of that art was eventually auctioned off after his death, and the Boone Pickens Foundation benefited from that. So that's really all I have. When we have people come through the museum, afterwards we send them a survey asking for feedback. And I'll be honest with you, I thought, well, who's going to take the time to fill out a survey for us? We get about 25% of all visitors to fill out our survey, and much of it is positive, as you'll see. Much of it gives us really good feedback, things that we could do better, things that we need to improve on. But these are just some of the quotes that people sent to us. So I think that's it. I'm open for questions, if you have any questions or anything.
All right, we're bringing the mic around.
Whose idea was it to start this museum, and what was the lead gift? How much was it to fund it?
So those are all good questions, and I may not have the answer to all of them. So this was an idea that people, and by people I mean the people that really oversaw the Boone Pickens Foundation, they knew that there was eventually going to be a museum to honor Boone. As a matter of fact, when I was at the Spear School of Business for 13 years, and the new business building's been open since 2018. While we were building the business building, or before we started on the business building, there was talk that we couldn't build the crescent-shaped building because the Boone Pickens Museum was going to go somewhere on the east side of that, and they wanted to make sure that you could walk out of the Boone Pickens Museum and see all the way down the quad to the library. So there were discussions about, well, we can't build the crescent all the way and connect, because there have been talks of for the past 15 years of where that museum was going to go. Eventually, it was decided in the football stadium, which I think is the perfect place for it. So, you know, there was a lot of thought to it, a lot of higher up people making those decisions. As far as the cost, I'm not sure. Most of that was funded by the Boone Pickens Foundation. Yeah, not a whole lot was spent by OSU Athletics or OSU overall. So.
A question over here.
Terry, does it ever come up with the replica of his boyhood home that people want to go out and see his home that they can't see?
Yes, it does. I think that's probably my best answer. Yes, it comes up.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my question too.
Yeah.
But since it's already been answered, this is just a story that comes from former President Jim Halligan. And Jim, for his first meeting, went down to Boone Pickens' office, and this is what Jim told me, to basically see if he could up the ante on what at the time, this was, 10, 12 years ago, maybe a little longer, because he thought that he could get a lot more. But he said it was hard to maintain eye contact with Boone. I don't know whether the office shows it or not, but Jim was sitting across the desk in one of those blue chairs, and Boone was in his chair. And he said it seemed like every 30 seconds or so, his eyes would shift from Jim Halligan to the ticker tape that was running on the wall across. He said it was just like this all the time. And he said Jim finally said there was a pause, and he finally got a point to get a word in, and he said, Boone, the several $1 million you have offered to OSU athletics and OSU in general is not going to be nearly enough to meet what you want. And that was, according to Jim, sort of the start of people like Mike Holder and Mike Gundy, who were quail hunting friends with him. That was the start of upping the ante.
Right.
Just a story that I heard.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
So it's really interesting, real quick, like to think about the people that have sat in those chairs. And there's a photo on this little red panel here right in front. There's a photo of Boone and Sarah Palin standing talking. And if you look closely, it's in front of the bookshelf that's right over here on the left. And it's really neat to think of who are the people that have been in this office and sat in those chairs. So.
Yeah, it's my understanding that his ranch out in Amarillo was for sale. Did it sell, and who purchased it?
It did sell several years ago. It was broken up into 3 sections, from what I understand, and 3 different entities or individuals purchased it, but I don't know who those people are.
Oh, okay.
Question over here.
So it's another story. Since Larry told a Boone story, I'm going to tell a good one. I can't resist. Okay. So I have some interesting career background. But anyway, this particular day, Mike Holder, former athletic director, and I were escorting Boone up to the president's suite in the stadium because he had not given his mega gift yet to the stadium, and we were having these stadium campaign meetings before every football game. So as we enter the football stadium, it's right after Hurricane Katrina, and this young lady, an OSU student, has this big bucket, and it's taped closed, and it says Hurricane Katrina donations, and it has a little slot in the top for people to put the money in. And so as we're entering the stadium, this young lady approaches us. Would you like to make a donation to the Hurricane Katrina relief effort? She has no idea, who she's talking to. So Boone reaches into his pocket, and he starts pulling out big wad of 20s, and he's poking that down in there. And Mike Holder and I are sweating. He's like, I'm pulling $80 out of my purse, and he's, digging around in his pockets, emptying his pockets. And anyway, I thought, okay, here's an opportunity. I said, young lady, do you realize that this stadium is named after this gentleman? This is T. Boone Pickens. And she goes, oh my gosh. She said, Mr. Pickens, this is the best stadium ever. I mean, it was the best stewardship ever. She did just a great job. But anyway, he was so kind and so nice to her. So
He always was. He was
Yes,
so
thank you.
nice to people and just really down to earth.
Just a question, as more and more people are come out, I'm going to go to that like right now. But anyway, parking would seem to be an issue. If you just have 4 parking spots, knowing how parking is on campus, I'm going, hey.
We have 5 parking spots
Okay.
right out in front. It hasn't been an issue yet. If we do have that issue, it'll be a good issue, and we'll be happy to deal with it. On Saturdays, it's not an issue because you can park anywhere on campus on Saturdays. And for right now, what we found Tuesday through Friday, 11 till 4, we're not having big crowds yet. Hopefully, one day we will. Yep. So, any other questions? Right here.
What's happened to all of his water rights that he bought up?
I don't know what happened with that. Yeah, but I'm not sure. I do want to have, before I turn it back over, I do have a question. I have a gift, an autographed copy of the 300, there's only been 350 of these printed and autographed by Boone, and this is an autographed copy, and want to give it to someone today. So I don't know how to do this, but I have a question, and I guess if we'll just raise your hand or yell out the answer. Whoever gets it first will get it. Earlier today, we heard that a president had the longest inauguration. Who was that? Who was first?
Good job.
Right over here. All right.
Oh, well
Sure,
done.
sure.
Well done.
Dawn's gonna love that. I mean, you just got Wife of the Year award
Thank
today,
you.
Meredith.
Thank you.